Hi. Incredible. I have to say, forgive my wavering voice. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to say today, but I first wanted to say, Dad, thanks for some black socks. I didn't have any clean laundry. So these are pretty comfortable now. I really appreciate it. By the same size. I was talking with family and friends this week, and one story that kept coming up, and I feel like I just need to share it, is one that happened 5 weeks ago or so now. We went out to Harmony Hill, which is where I grew up. It's on the canal in the city of Union. And ironically, it has turned into this massive cancer retreat center funded by Bill Gates and many others. And it was odd to have my dad sitting there that day and thinking, wow, he's got cancer, and this is where I grew up, and it's kind of come full circle. And the best part of that day was sitting in this big room, kind of like this, in a small circle talking about cancer with sons and daughters, people who have cancer, and people who are in remission. And it was one of those facilitated talks where you pass a rock around, and it's the talking rock. And everybody is solemn and quiet, and it's wonderful, and I really got a lot out of it. Dad was the last to go, and I handed him the rock. And we were all seated, and he grabs the rock, and he stands up, and he goes right in the middle of the circle. And he swings his arm, and he says, okay, this is going to take a while. As we all know, it definitely could take a while. So he walks over to this woman who's directly opposite him, and she's lost her hair from cancer, and she's been through a lot. He gets about 3 inches away from her face and says, do you know what a spiritual warrior is? And this woman looks like, oh my God. She's petrified. But he wants to share with her what's in his, what he feels. The fact that they both have cancer, they can connect. And he knows what it's like for cancer to really suck. So he goes back to the middle of the circle and he tells more of the story. And it's great. It was wonderful. But the point here is that I'm sitting over in my chair thinking, okay, how do I analyze this from a public health perspective using statistics? How do I break it all down? There are no signs. I'm very skeptical. And I left and flew back to Connecticut maybe a few days later, and I thought while I was flying back, you know what is awesome about my dad and was profound, and what we've been sharing already today, is that you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You don't have to be a Nobel Prize winner. You don't have to just show everyone that you're the smartest, most amazing thing ever in that way. Because you can show them you're amazing with your heart. And he really, really did. So I wrote a couple of things down this morning when we got here to the church, and I wanted to share those with you, and that's kind of all I have to say. By the way, though, I spoke at my grandfather's memorial about 1.5 years ago. Dad came up to me immediately following and said, Gabe, that was great. Talk slower. So here it is, Dad, a little slower. Sasquatches and supersonics, hikes in the Olympics. Then an enormous brick-like cell phone. Weekends traversing the sound, watching the powerful churning of the ferry's propellers. A painful divorce. At that point, not much was very easy. Mary entertained as you worked open houses. Life began to change. A new marriage. A few years later, a new baby sister. You were honest. You were trying to figure it all out. Despite all that, you said you'd always love me. Distance grew between as you juggled 2 lives. I grew up, you had your world, and I began to create mine. Eventually the space between began to close. Visits to Hawaii and New York City. I met you as an adult one cold fall day 6 years ago. Our bond, one that had been frazzled, grew stronger than ever. You were my friend, my mentor, and finally my dad. Sports, girls, admission to Yale discussed. Your phone always on, your voice glad to take my call. Then on another cold fall day, the conversation wasn't fun. A lump in your throat, long pauses. Yeah, it was cancer. 2 years we worried. I desperately looked for a solution. Yet our bond grew faster and bigger than any tumor ever could. I learned how much I want to be like you. To love, to forgive, to always endeavor to be a better person, to be kind. Before we knew it, cancer was front and center. It took your body but couldn't touch your will to love life. It breaks my heart that you are gone, but makes me infinitely happy and proud that someone so incredible will be forever a part of me. I see you in everything and everywhere. We will always be together. As Father and Son.